Today's show is brought to you by Audible, and right now you can get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/joinedup. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle or MP3 player. Thanks for tuning in to the Joined Up Writing Podcast, a weekly show featuring interviews with fantastic authors sharing their personal stories on how and why they write. There's hints and tips for aspiring writers and great book reviews from top bloggers. Follow us on Twitter at JU Podcast. Right, cue the cheesy theme tune.
Put down your pen and stop your typing. Grab yourself a drink, cause it's Joined Up Writing. The Epilogue.
Yes, it's the Epilogue, our bonus in-between episodes, quick listens containing an extra question or topic not covered in the original interview. And this week it's the turn of Richard Rippon. If you missed it, you can find his full interview over at joinedupwriting.co.uk, or even better, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher or wherever else you get your podcasts from, and you'll get a new episode downloaded automatically every week. We've got a huge archive of interviews, 2-minute tips, epilogues and writing chats for you to enjoy, and it's all completely free. However, it has been brought to my attention that there are still a few people out there who don't really get podcasts, so maybe you've recommended the show to someone, they've popped along to the website and they've had a listen online, but they've got no idea how they can get these shows to automatically appear on their phone or in their iTunes. Maybe you're one of those people and you're loyally sitting down at your computer every week to have a listen. Well, I'm thinking of putting together a post to give instructions to those of you who are only just discovering the wonderful world of podcasts, but in the meantime, just get yourself a free podcast app for your Apple or Android phone, search for the Joined Up Writing Podcast and hit subscribe. It really is that simple. And that way you'll automatically get the show every Tuesday when it drops. And if you're already a seasoned podcast listener, take a couple of minutes to introduce a friend to this amazing and free form of entertainment and inspiration. You know that they will thank you. And maybe if you've done that, then take another 30 seconds just to leave a quick iTunes rating and review, as that helps other people to find the show and it means I can continue to attract brilliant guests and improve the content of the show. Okay, so endeth the podcast sermon, and on with today's show, where I began asking Richard about his thoughts on whether it's useful to try to write every single day. Okay, Rich, thanks a million for hanging around for the Epilogue, our bonus quick listen show where we take another question or topic for our listeners. So we mentioned in the main interview there, you just touched on this 100 days of writing that you've been doing, which is hashtag 100 days of writing on Twitter. So tell us a little bit more about what that actually is. Do you have to write a certain amount of words each day, and how have you been finding it?
I've been finding it really hard, but really worthwhile at the same time. So the idea is that you write something every single day for 100 consecutive days. There's no rules about word count. It's just making sure that you turn up and you actually do something, no matter how small it is. Mm-hmm. So I think it's great because it's encouraged me to. I'm not just thinking about what I'm going to write today. I've got to think about what I'm writing tomorrow. So I'm kind of constantly thinking about my story and developing ideas all the time. So it's great for that. It's a little bit exhausting. So I'm up to day 22 now, I think. But I found it really worthwhile. So if anybody's interested to follow my progress and the progress of lots of other people who are doing it at the same time, they can find it on hashtag 100 days of writing on Twitter.
Brilliant. And I mean, you mentioned there that the thing that stands out to me, because I found this myself with my own writing, is just that the fact that you're thinking about it every day and that you just kind of just coming into contact with your novel and your story each day definitely helps, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think if you leave it too long, especially at this time of year, straight after Christmas, you can kind of just say, "Oh well, I'll get started in a couple of weeks," and then before you know it, it's February and you haven't really made any progress. So I think it really encourages you to constantly think about, what to do next, where to take your characters next. So it's very worthwhile.
It's a bit like exercise. I kind of equate it to, because it's like the longer you leave it, the harder it is when you start up again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good analogy. It's kind of it's just like exercising your body. It's exercising your creative your mind, creative mind. You need to do it.
And if you have a big gap, you tend to find, I mean, especially I've got a terrible memory. I mean, I tend to find, I'll even forget names of characters and, minor characters or whatever. And, what happened in chapter 3? Or did that character already tell that person that? Or has that happened yet? Or whatever. So it kind of keeps you in touch with it. Do you tend to find that you spend a lot of time sort of, I always call it thinking about it in your back brain. So like when you're doing other stuff, so you might be doing your day job or you might be out walking or you're with the kids or whatever. Do you tend to find that it's kind of in the back of your mind a lot? Do you tend to think about it while you're doing other things as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Little things will pop into your mind, like, and it could be snatches of dialogue or whatever. You've got that old cliche of your characters kind of starting to talk to you in the back of your mind. But I think that does happen, and you can't just be doing anything. And a good idea will pop in there, And the key thing to do, I think, is to make sure you capture that, because there's been plenty of times where I've had a great idea, not written it down, and then it's been lost in the mists of time, and I've never been able to fully remember it properly.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of you've got to be ready to be inspired.
Yeah, it's a certain way. It's a mindset, isn't it? It's putting your mind in that way of thinking, and being able to do it. What do you do if you tend to get a new idea? I always think about it. I always talk about it as like it's the new sexy idea that comes along when you're in the middle of a longer project. Do you ever find that? Do you tend to find that you get distracted, or suddenly that new idea seems much more attractive than the novel that you're halfway through?
Definitely, yeah, that can happen. You can suddenly have your mind veers off, and you have a wonderful idea for your next novel, to the point where you think, well, I might just down tools on this one and start up on this better idea, But I think as long as you kind of, what I do, I just keep a log of these ideas, and it could just be a one-line pitch of what I've thought of at the time, and they're all things that I can go back to at a later date. So I think if you do have these light bulb moments, write them down. But try not to let them distract you too much from the job at hand.
Nothing is wasted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's really, really good advice. Thanks very much for that. And as I say, if anyone's out there that's looking to kickstart their writing and get back into it again and stretch the writing muscles, so it's a hashtag 100 days of writing. And also they can check out what you're doing on Twitter with that as well, can't they? At Rich Rippon.
That's right, yeah.
All right, brilliant. And thanks a million again for hanging around for the epilogue.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for having me.
There you go, another interesting chat with Richard Rippon, and you can find more about Richard and his work at obliteratipress.com, and do make sure you check out that full interview from episode 71. Next week, I've got a brilliant chat with fellow podcaster and author Claire Hanscom about her latest project and Unbound, a crowdfunding publishing website. But that's it for this week, so thanks for listening. I'm Wayne Kelly, happy reading and writing, and I'll see you next time.